and is about providing plant-based catering at council events. Sam, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. As you said, my name is Sam Ebnalandi. I'm a Camden resident and I'm here with the Plant-Based Councils campaign. Now, this year we have seen devastating wildfires, extreme heat and mass migrations across the world, all driven by global heating. According to Camden's own documentation, the largest 3 sources of household emissions within the borough are food, housing and transport. 27% of food emissions come from meat, whilst providing only 5% of the volume of food consumed by Londoners. Per calorie and gram of protein produced, meat and dairy produce far more emissions than plant foods. In July, Oxford University published their findings. This is the largest meta-analysis ever done in our food systems, and they published their findings on the environmental impacts of different diets. The least sustainable plant-based diet was far more environmentally friendly than the most sustainable meat-eater diets in terms of emissions, water, and land use, and many more items as well. What's more, animal farming and fishing are the primary causes of biodiversity loss globally. Now, in 2019, Camden sought consultation from its own citizens, including myself and many others, who asked the council to encourage low-carbon dietary choices and, quote, to green the council's operations. On the council's own website as well, residents are told that the number one thing they can do to cut CO2 emissions is to eat less dairy and meat produce. The 2021 Re-London report states that if Londoners were to reduce their meat intake by 70%, it would cut London's consumption-based emissions by 20%. A whole foods plant-based diet is healthy, cheap, and can support our local farmers, which we know is essential. The solutions are clear, the science is crystal clear, and Camden has an opportunity to lead the way on climate action related to food by ensuring that all food provided at internal meetings and events is 100% plant-based. Not only will this reduce the council's emissions enormously, prevent deforestation and reduce wastage of water, it will also encourage residents to take up plant-based eating habits themselves. Now, other UK councils have done this as well. Lewisham, Enfield, Oxfordshire County, Oxford City, Norwich City, Cambridge City, Exeter City, Faversham and Hythe town councils as well. It would be inspiring and reassuring to see Camden pass a motion which addresses the contribution of food-related emissions in Camden. And it must include a commitment that all catering for meetings and events will be fully plant-based. We are not taking away anyone's choice. People are welcome to bring whatever options they want. We're just ensuring that Camden leads the way in creating a better, brighter future for us all. This is a crucial moment in history where councils can be showcasing innovative climate solutions by making a switch, a small change to plant-based catering. Will councillors meet with me as well if they would like to address their concerns over cost, inclusivity or choice, and local impacts of such a direction, and they could hear how enormous it could be.
Time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Enormous win for health, sustainability and budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Does any member wish to ask a question to the deputy? Rishi?
Councillor Rishi Madlai, thanks Sam and thanks to your glorious assistants for putting up a very, very good flag there. So very supportive of you bringing this forward. I think it's really important. Obviously we know this is a really serious issue and actually small behaviour changes will make a massive difference in shifting people's behaviours. I think you alluded to the cost piece. I think that's been one of the big worries I have around this, especially in the cost of living crisis. And I wonder whether you have any thoughts that you can elaborate on about how do we make that while we're facing austerity and continuing austerity, how do we make that affordable, not just for the council, but actually for other residents as well? Because I think more people will be willing to do this.
Councillor Chang, you may ask a question.
Sam, you know we've had deputations like this before, and you've come back again, and we've also signed the Global Challenge for Sustainability. You've come here again. What is stopping your progress?
Is it okay if I take one more question and then you can attempt? Does anybody else have a question? Okay, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you very much. I've been a vegetarian for 12 years. I'm often the only vegetarian in the room. How do I go about convincing my friends to, give up their chicken and chips and have a better lifestyle? Because I think that's one of the biggest blockers is a lot of people want to carry on eating meat still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate the comments and questions. I think as the councillor over there just said, I think a key issue is in costs. Now, if we look at the most available proteins, we look at basically lentils versus chicken. This is things that are all close to our hearts. Lentils can provide much more protein than the cheapest protein in the meat farming industry, which is chicken, and it is much, much cheaper. If you're batch cooking many more things, there are many, many versions of a plant-based diet that can be much cheaper in the long run. We all know if you're going to go to McDonald's and have a 99p burger, you could also go to a fancy steak restaurant and get Wagyu beef for 30, 40 pounds. There are many different price points in our diet, but cost is really essential. And of course, I think about that as well. Personally, I find when I made the switch from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet, it didn't affect me at all. But I hope our progress can go forward from there.
Thank you, Sam. Does anybody else want to ask a question?
Hi, I'm Councillor Wiley Olad. I chair the Culture Environment Scrutiny Committee, which oversees this. And I'd love to invite you to come to the committee one day and speak to us so we can look at this in more detail. And it would be fantastic if you brought some samples with you as well.
Would anybody else like to ask a question? No? Okay, happy. Does the Deputy wish to briefly respond to the questions which you have already, but do you want to respond to Councillor Olad and sum up? Do you wish to sum up or answer the question that Councillor Olad just asked?
Yeah, I would be delighted to bring in some samples. I might have to take some time to do some great cooking and research into your diet particularly. But of course, I would like to meet and come along to any meetings that could be relevant. I'd like to address the question over here in terms of what's stopping our progress. We all know that social change can be very slow. And ultimately, we have to look at this as a crucial moment in our history, where in order to sustain our children and grandchildren's future, we can make decisions now. There are, of course, going to be ways that our progress is slowed by people hanging on to things that are maybe going to be in the past. But I truly believe that this is essential for our development as a species if we all want to secure our future.
Thank you, Sam. I would now like to invite the Cabinet Member for Sustainable, Camden, to respond to the deputation. Councillor Harrison, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming to the council this evening. As you said, we recognise the major impact that food has on the climate crisis, and our own research shows that around 11% of households in Camden, their consumption-based emissions are attributable to food and drink, and meat is a huge portion of that. So it's a really important factor and one we need to make progress on. It is also a core part of the food mission that we're undertaking as a council, looking right across the piece to by 2030, the goal is that everybody should be eating well every day with nutritious, affordable and sustainable diets. That's what we're aiming for, and that's a really important part of our wider climate action plan, which we adopted in 2020. We've taken a number of steps to address this and support this ambition. As a council, we don't directly provide a huge amount of food, but in our cafe in our 5 Pancras Square building, for example, we provide a range of plant-based meals for staff, and that was part of letting that contract. Similarly, through some of the events that we run, we make sure that we're targeting around 50% plant-based options from suppliers. And all sustainability-based events have either vegan or vegetarian food by default. I sit on the North London Waste Authority. Some of those meetings we have some catering, and we made sure very recently this year, in fact, that's all plant-based. So we are making progress in different places. In schools as well, starting just this year in September, Caterlink, who provide the contract, introduced an opt-out approach to Meat Free Monday, and only one primary school so far has actually opted out. So that's a really good example of change in action. And we'll be looking ahead to the contract. And sometimes in terms of the question of when is the action, what moments are we waiting for? The contract is an important one. That's not coming up for a while yet, but I think next year we'll be able to look really carefully at it and see what further progress we can make. I'm really happy to meet as well, either separately or I'm often at Councillor Olad's committee, so that might be a good opportunity to also test some of the samples. Thank you.
Thank you.